Peace and welcome to another episode of Artistry, where art meets industry. We are your hosts, Rochelle Etienne Robinson and Stan Substantial Robinson. Season 4 of Artistry is powered by Words, Beats, and Life. Peace, everyone. Welcome to Artistry, where art meets industry. We are Rochelle Etienne Robinson and Stan Substantial Robinson. Happy Wednesday, folks. Thank you for joining us. If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Artistry Podcast, where we interview visual and performing artists and arts administrators to discuss their creative journey. If you like what you hear, we highly recommend that you like and subscribe because we can give you more and more goodness. If you are returning, welcome back. Today's guest is Opie Snow. She is a visual artist from Ashland, Oregon. Who has studied fine arts at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon, and the University of Oregon in Eugene. After receiving her Bachelor's of Fine Arts with painting, with emphasis in painting techniques, she traveled to Europe to research master painter techniques. In 2000, she co-founded Nuwandart Gallery in Ashland, Oregon. Opie has created costume designs. She's done installation work and performance art dance with El Circo. You see how I just keep stumbling over my words. An arts performance collective based in San Francisco from 2001 to 2007. In 2007, Opie joined forces with artist Micah Blacklight and moved to Brooklyn, New York to further her art career. In 2009, the two created the collaboration called BlackSnow, a fine art, couture, fashion, and multimedia company. BlackSnow had their debut exhibit at the IcoSa-hedron Gallery in New York City in 2010. Her work has involved mythical figures. She has explored the experience of the feminine through the evolution of sexuality, power, demonization, oppression, liberation, and redefinition. Currently, Opie Snow lives between New York and Oregon with her family. She has immersed herself in two very different series: Steadfast, which is a figurative work which explores the complexities of being a woman in today's time, and Black Ochre, which is a new and passionate realm of expression for her, where she is experimenting with emotive and design-oriented abstracts. Please welcome to the show, Opie Snow. Please welcome to the show, Opie Snow. Yay!
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
How goes it, sis?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you two?
We
Good,
are
good.
fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show. We are so excited and very much looking forward to speaking with you about your creative journey. We have been fans of your work for quite some time, since we first met you
Yeah.
many, many moons ago. And so, yes, we're definitely looking forward to knowing more about you. As we have mentioned before in the show, this was birthed during the pandemic in 2020. Being creatives ourselves, we love learning more about our friends. Like, even though when you break bread with folks, you hang out, you may travel together, but you may not really know their story, know their truth. And so this is why we do what we do. And so we're so happy to sit with you and learn more about your artistry. So thank you for being on the
Well,
show.
thank you for having me. And I've been huge fans of you two as well. All the good you guys put in the world, all the art and music and parenting and all the good work you do.
Awesome.
sis. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Well, as we mentioned, with the pandemic, and although we're not in the droves of it, the pandemic, COVID is still very much alive and well. But in those early days of 2020 and to now, how has that been for you? What was life like for you?
How'd you have to pivot?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a mixed bag. I would say overall we were pretty blessed in the transition and how we were already set up with our lives. We both, Micah, my partner, and I both work for ourselves. So we didn't have to, figure out new jobs, or we weren't dependent on, theaters or being in front of audiences. So we were really able to continue our creative and work life. So that wasn't a huge deal for us, which was, I think, just easier for that transition. Um, we did have our daughter who was just going into elementary school, so that was a little bit of a rough transition. But we pivoted. We found a little pod, and we made it work with a few other families where we helped caretake each other's kids, and then we all got a little more work time in. So it ended up being a sweet little moment in time for them, even though it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And then honestly, in some ways, it was almost good for my art, because we have been living back and forth between Oregon and New York, which is incredible, but also just busy and lots going on. And so sort of just like really slowing down and just being in my studio and having time to just focus was actually really good for me creatively. So, it was rough in a lot of ways, but also we were just really blessed that we were able to move on and move through it. And we were in Oregon, we were there when it hit, which was just another blessing, just because we have a bigger house there and a yard, and we can go out and hike and do things that are outside of our house that, but not intermixing with people. So that was another blessing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would have been very different being, because, New York was crazy when a lot of that began.
Yeah.
I was on tour right around the time the lockdowns first started happening. And so, I can only imagine like you all being stuck there, for that period of time.
Yeah, especially with kids too,
exactly.
And some of the playgrounds here were even closed off. So it just seems like it must have been really hard apartment life with kids in the city. But people did it and survived.
And it's we want to make that, and this is why we always ask that question, because the thing is, for a lot of folks, obviously it was very challenging and there's been a lot of loss, but there have been some significant gains for others as well. And I think giving the balance of the two and being able to share that share those stories, that for some people they thrived during this time period while others faltered, so I think definitely showing all sides of it is one of the things we want to do and share with folks. So born and raised in Oregon, as you mentioned, you obtained your BFA in fine arts. You're a full-time artist. What was your first introduction to the arts? Was it performing arts or was it visual arts?
It was visual arts, although music was a big part of growing up for me. So I guess I would say first introduction was my parents and my family life. They were both musicians, educators, just creative people in general. Not that they were doing fine art, but they were just living creatively and sort of differently than a lot of families were at that time. So I was really encouraged to be creative and to follow all those pursuits. And they were just very resourceful. We'd figure out any sort of problem, figure out a way to creatively fix it. And growing up, my mom we always just had projects going on. Like I didn't really watch a lot of TV. It was just a lot of creative based play and projects. And so I feel like that creative nurturing really just set the stage for me to just follow my creativity throughout my life.
Yeah, absolutely. With your abstract painting, which is what you're currently doing, when do you know, right? Like when you're starting the process with abstract, because it's pretty much, it's free. It's very freeing. But for you, when do you know when to start and when to stop? When are you able to walk away and be like, all right, it's done?
Yes. Well, my abstract work is actually really new for me. And so I'm very much just in the play stage, and I guess it could be that way all the way through with abstract. But so right now it's really sort of, I put a mark down, excuse me, and and then I step back and I just sort of see what's the next calling. It's almost like a conversation. So one mark goes down, and then I look at it, and it's sort of what's the answer to that mark, like what mark needs to be made, or So, and I go back and forth, making a mark, stepping back, looking at it, seeing what it's calling for. And that just continues on until I feel like sort of like the conversation's complete. Sometimes, it gets overworked. Sometimes it ends up just perfectly the right timing. But I feel like it's this dance of mark making. And so right now that's really the flow for that style of work for me. But like I said, I'm just really allowing myself the time to just flow with it and feel and not be cerebral about it. So that's been really fun. That's been a really great part of it, is just following the sort of like the emotion, and or almost like a meditation.
Yeah. I love what you said when you say conversation, because, it's the art speaking to you. It's like, do I want to continue this? Maybe I'll play with this. Maybe we'll drop a dot right here, or a splash here. So I think that's great, because I think, some folks who do not understand the technique or what it is that you're doing, and why you're doing, and the purpose and the intention behind it. And so that it's the art working through you, but it's also speaking to you, and you speaking to it. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in the graphic design world and web design world too. So I think there's probably lots of that experience informing those decisions, those beginning, middle, ends of the conversation, is having that experience just in graphic design and design in general.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's all in there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was whenever we talk about like knowing when a piece is finished, I always think of that quote, great art is never finished, it's only abandoned. Yeah. So whenever that conversation goes on, I immediately think about that, and especially when you're talking about like the conversation of it all, like in the real world, like knowing when a general conversation is over, right? Like outside of saying, well, all right, then, it's like that awkward little moment.
Pause.
And it's like, well, okay, well, it was good seeing you.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you have to play with that to learn, sometimes you're going to mess up and say too much or not enough or whatever, but it's about like the practice of it and just doing it.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
No, for sure. So you've traveled to Europe, South America, and you all live bi-coastally. What country and or city provides like the most inspiration for your work, and why?
Well, New York is obviously very up there, if not first. If we're talking other countries, I would say Mexico. I've lived in Mexico a couple times and traveled there a lot. So the culture is it's so rich. The food is amazing. The art is incredible. I feel like it's just seeped with just like depth and color, and like family is so important there. There's just so much about that culture that I love. And then being in Mexico City we went there for a couple of weeks and just absolutely loved it, because it really mixed that rich cultural and the traditional aspects of Mexico, but then it was really modern at the same time. So it was this really cool fusion of both worlds. And so the art and design of the museums there, the furniture, the decor, everything to me there is so inspiring. So yeah, say Mexico City.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I have to add that to my list.
Yes,
Still have
indeed.
yet to go there, but
Yes,
definitely on the list. Now, in 2009, you and your partner Micah Blacklight, who's also a guest of the show, who has been on the show as well,
Friend of ours,
a longtime friend of ours, you both collaborated on a project called BlackSnow.
Mhm.
Tell us about that experience and what lessons did you learn about yourself during that process?
Oh, that was such a cool project. We got to come together as partners, but also as co-creators. And um, I feel like what was really special about that show in particular was we were both pulling from our separate sort of artistic realms, but also lives. I was bringing a lot of what I had been experiencing for the last 15 or 16 years from Burning Man and Burning Man culture and creating art and installations and music and events through that realm. And then he was bringing this whole New York art, music, hip hop, poetry. So we really had like a mashup of all of that together.
Mhm.
Um, and one of the really cool parts, and one that I feel like I learned a lot from, was just how much community just like really stepped in. All these different artists were a part of that show. And so
Mhm.
it was our show, but it really was, it came together because of all these
Mhm.
amazing artists and performers.
Mhm.
So just working in community like that to create something huge and impactful
Mhm.
was really incredible. And especially as a painter, because so much of my work is very insular. It's me in my studio um,
Mhm.
a lot of the time. And a lot of my Burning Man time, that was another realm where I was really collabing and working with the community. So
Mhm.
that's how this felt too. Is like you just learn and grow so much when you're creating with other people.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
No.
it's great. It was a great show. I mean, we unfortunately didn't we wasn't able to attend,
Yeah, we had
but we
already
had already,
left.
yeah, I think we
Yeah.
had already left
Mhm.
the city. But we for the pictures, the video, like it just
Yeah,
looks
it
like a
was amazing.
great time, and the perfect blending of the two.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Knowing you both for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like Micah was a standout at our wedding,
Mhm.
where he
Yeah,
had
I've seen those
created
pictures.
he
Yes.
created his
His
own
outfit the
outfit
night before,
Hmm.
the
right?
night, literally the night
The day
before,
before.
and it was the
That
birth. It
sounds
was like
like him.
literally it's the stepping
Yeah.
stone, right? So this was in 2004. You guys have your show in 2009. So it's
Yeah.
really like, he was playing around. He was like
Mhm.
you were saying before, like playing. This was the and just and just experimenting, and to
Hmm.
see how that from that moment to what you guys were able to create
Translated.
together.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
It's
was
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, so like we talk about like the impact of that particular moment and what that did for both of you. And of course, what it did for people like us who were watching from afar, and then obviously the people who were there.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, like what, so let's talk about impact for a second. Like how has art in general just impacted your life?
Um, wow. It's just, I feel like it's hard. It's hard to separate it from my life.
Mm,
It's really, we move, it's like at the core of how we move through life. So it really
mhm,
informs everything we do, every decision we make. Us becoming bi-coastal was, it's like everything, all the travel we do, all the ways we've chosen to, even when it's been hard at different points, to maintain just being full-time artists and not sort of going over to the 9 to 5 or anything like that.
right.
Is
Hmm.
That's all been informed by just like our dedication to living creatively.
Mhm,
um so I feel like just the choosing of art has just rippled out through our whole lives. That's where we move from, and sort of at the core of how we live.
Yeah.
yeah, for
um
sure.
so yeah.
I noticed that with a lot of your earlier pieces, dealing with primarily with women, strong women, women that, very, it's like tribal, maybe even Aboriginal. Like you have these women who, when we talked about before about having, communicating, right? And so these women that you paint, they are literally coming off of the canvas. Like you can see them, they're piercing like in these examples here,
Hmm.
like very intense, very emotional. Where who are these women? Where do they come from? Are they from live models? Are they from your imagination? Like, what is your reference?
All of the above, really. Some of these women are friends, some are models I found, some are references I found, some I make up. I think really it's all about pulling that essence of woman for me, and there is a fierceness to that. There's a wildness to that. There's a softness to that. There's sort of all these aspects and complexities of being a woman, and I think that's what tries to come through in all these paintings. So yeah, just playing with that sort of dichotomy of like strength and vulnerability is always sort of there. That contrast, that push pull of that is always there.
Yeah. Looking at these pictures now, let's talk about technique. Your style, how would you define your style, first and foremost?
You know, I think what I'm striving for, and I still am always reaching for it, is I'm not even sure if this is an actual style at this point, but there's a book called Disrupted Realism, and I really when that came out, I was like, yes, that's what I'm wanting. So it's sort of this mixture of realism, abstraction, and sort of the play between those two. You know, some areas I like to have really focused, and then a lot of other areas I want loose and abstract and more gestural. Or and I've always really loved the play of contrast and texture, and so and it's funny because I always, we were talking earlier about how do you know when to stop, especially with my figurative work. I actually often like it more before I finish it, but I end up working on it more, and then I'm like, oh, I should have stopped back then, because it's a little more disrupted earlier on, and I tend to overwork it, or not overwork it, but just continue to make it realistic, where I feel like it could have been effective even earlier on, not as realistic. So it's something I'm always working on, just trying to loosen that up and be a little more abstract with the realism part.
Because like for instance, with the figure on the right, for those of you that are watching this, you know, I love the texture that you use. It almost looks like, I don't know, I'm assuming you're painting on canvas, but it almost gives it like a wood texture, you know, like the thickness of the paint, the blockness, you know, how you know, the strokes of the brush, like all of it is very textural, but yet you're able to see like her eyes, like piercing, you know, is looking through you. You feel her emotion. It's beautiful. It's beautiful work.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So real quick, we're gonna pause for a second so we can pay some bills. Shout out to our sponsor, Words, Beats, and Life.
Yes.
We're gonna talk a little bit more about them in a second. So everyone hold tight. We'll be back with more Opie Snow. All right.
My name is Kalia, and I teach the DJ course here at Words, Beats, and Life. Well, I started DJing around 19, 20 years old. It actually helped me with my social skills. I felt like it was way easier for me to make friends. I also was able to learn from different cultures while DJing. I enjoyed teaching people the difference between house music and drum and bass. What I hope people get out of DJing is a sense of confidence. I would say for myself personally, as I started getting out there on my own, I built up a little confidence in myself, and I learned how to have fun a lot more and also project myself without actually saying anything. That's why I'm with Words, Beats, and Life. Enroll in the DJ class today at wblinc.org/academy.
All right. Shout out once again to Words, Beats, and Life. If you're not familiar with the organization, be sure to check them out. They're doing great work in the community. They're a hip hop education organization that outside of the DJ courses, they also offer classes in music production, floral art, mural art, and just a wide variety of things, photography, African dance, you name it. So shout out to Words, Beats, and Life, and thanks again for sponsoring our show, Artistry. We're eternally grateful. And shout out to all of the listeners and folks viewing us online. So right now, we're going to go ahead and bring back our guest for the evening, Miss Opie Snow. Hold on, just making sure things are flowing smoothly. Shazam. There we go.
And we're
Hey.
back.
Yeah.
So we're going to transition a bit. We're going to talk about the business side of the art, right? So as a full-time artist, what have been some of your advantages as well as some disadvantages that you've experienced throughout your career?
Mm-hmm. I think I'll start off with disadvantages, advantages. I feel like I spoke about my parents earlier, and that sort of building a sense of resourcefulness and sort of instilling the creativeness in my life. I feel like that has really helped me to. I've had several different creative businesses throughout my life where they've always been, I'm the boss. It's my business, not working for someone else. And I feel like having that resourcefulness has given me like the courage, the trust and also just the determination to figure out, one, believe I can do it, but then two, figure out, okay, this is my goal. How do I go about it? And just really pushing through and going through all the steps to make it happen. So I feel like just that sense of like resourcefulness and belief has just been a huge advantage, because I've tried several things and do it as long as it works for me. And then if I'm like, you know what, this is not working anymore, try the next thing. But I've always done it in a creative realm, so that I feel like that I'm feeding that part of who I am and who I want to be. Let's see, disadvantages.
Or lessons learned.
Lessons learned. I was going to say, I'm trying to think. I always try and just look at it all from like, okay, just tackle it. And, what's the positive aspect of this? But lessons learned for sure is, again, that sense of trust and belief is huge. When I met Micah, he was working at Polo. And him seeing sort of me being able to basically just create my own artistic life really gave him the belief and the trust that he could do it. And it was so much easier for him to then go do that. And I feel like if more artists saw other artists doing that, there's all these, stereotypes of the starving artist, or you can't make it, or it's not possible. And it is possible. It may not look or feel as secure as other jobs, but it's possible. So that's huge, the belief and the trust. And other lessons learned, just I would say being open to have like a diverse income stream within your creativity. I did faux finishing, I did website and graphic design for a long time, all alongside my art. But it was nice to have several things going on, so that if painting sales are slow, I can do a website or graphic design or something like that. So I think having some people choose to teach alongside with it, so having some outlets until you get to the point where you really feel like just your art can hold you, I think is good. It can make you feel more comfortable in that decision to really go for the creative life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love what you said, and I think just kind of going back to what you were talking about with like pursuing a career in the arts. A lot of times, full time doesn't always feel so secure, and I oftentimes have conversations with people about the false sense of security in working for someone else's company. Because sometimes it feels a bit more secure than it actually is, right?
Yeah.
Because you're only you really only know so much of what's happening when
Behind
you're
the scenes.
behind the scenes when
Yeah.
you're not present, depending on what your status in that company is. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, you can feel like that that steady paycheck is secure, but really you could be let go at any time. So there is
Yeah.
security in building your own business and being your own boss, and
for sure.
just knowing that you at least have control
Yeah,
over all
and
those.
having those direct relationships, I'm sure, with like clients, customers, all of that stuff.
Hmm.
You know, the lack of a middleman in every situation, you know,
Yep, totally.
allows you to, yeah, it definitely allows you to have a little bit more control. Um, yeah, so I'm always interested to know when I talk to people who are you know, we have something in common in that we're both graphic designers as well,
Hmm.
and so I'm always curious to know, like, talk about like early experiences, right? Like, what was like your first freelance job experience?
Yeah.
What were like some of the hard lessons from that?
Um, oh man, it's so funny. In the beginning, I just sort of dove in because I needed a website.
Mm,
And I wasn't liking what I was seeing. And so I just sort of dove in and learned how to do mine. And I was like, oh, I can do this. So I didn't have
mm,
formal training, um, but I just kept putting myself out there and
mhm.
saying, this is what I do. And every time I got a new client, it was more experience.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate, and I think this is something good to look for if you are diving into something either without the degree or that. Is I found different mentors along the way who are willing to help with different aspects
Mm,
of that. So I feel like I was a bit of a disadvantage just because I didn't necessarily go to school for some of these things. I mean, I
right.
did go to school for painting, but very different than a graphics design degree.
Mhm,
So I was at a disadvantage, but I think not letting that hinder me
mhm.
was my advantage. Was just like, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna figure
Yeah.
it out and find some people to help me out. And I did along the way, trade
Yeah.
skills with people, help them with
Mm.
something, have them teach you something. I mean, and these days there's so many courses and ways out there to learn if you want to
Mhm.
learn something but not actually go to get the degree in it. So
Right.
and
Yeah.
a lot of it was just, like so much with art, just do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more work I did, the more connections I made, and I just really built a business off of consistently producing work. So
Dope.
And I think that, that's a perfect segue because the next question is, what advice do you have for up and coming artists?
Mm,
And so
mhm.
I think, you've already said it, which is pretty much to just continue doing what you're doing, to continue producing.
mhm,
Yeah,
And eventually people, the right people will see it and then, inquire and want their own copy
mhm.
and go from there. But do you have
yeah.
any other advice for someone that's
um
just starting out?
yeah, I mean, obviously creating a lot is so key to find
Yeah.
yourself
Mhm.
and find your voice, and just to have the work to get out there. um I would say again, whether you're doing several different types of creative outlets, web design, art, teaching, all those things, or if you're just really in one, if you want to just do fine art, still find
Mhm.
ways to like diversify. So,
Mhm.
there are the few artists out there who are just big name artists. They have their representation. They just do their art, but it's okay. And there's a lot of artists that do a lot of different things within their art. Maybe it's
Mhm.
originals, maybe it's prints. There's so many print on demand options now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
um, there's digital products. There's so many ways to create and sell your art that um, really look into and try and find many avenues
Yeah.
to get, and you can take one original piece of artwork and find lots of avenues for that one piece. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, just don't limit yourself in thinking that it's just one thing, one way. That there's lots of ways to go about it, especially
Mhm.
in this day and age with social media and everything we
Mm-hmm.
have access to right now. We're not beholden to galleries like we used to be.
Mhm.
There's a ton of artists who completely make a great living just off of social media, you know.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
there's so many ways to do it. But I think having a game plan is good, deciding like, okay, what are the avenues I want to pursue? How do we, you know, what do I want to learn? Finding the ways to learn it and going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
For sure. One thing I just wanted to add to, you know, because you talked about like multiple revenue streams. A challenge. I do this with my students all the time, and then you know just some of our clients, but just to always think of like multiple ways to monetize the thing. So like treat it almost like a exercise for every new thing you create. What's it? I think it was Dame Dash. My homie Naturel, good friend of ours, former guest of the show. He said that he was sitting with Dame Dash, and Dame Dash hit him with the gym. You know, come up with 7 different ways to monetize every great idea that you have. You know,
Oh,
and he's
wow.
not the and he's not
Yeah.
the first to say it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a great exercise, I think, for anyone. You know, no matter what business you're in. Just thinking of like the various ways, like treating it as an exercise. You create the thing, okay, the thing is created.
Yeah. How?
Now how can I expand on this? Take this one thing and kind of just really blow it out and take it as far as it can go. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that, Jim. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, that'll just keep expanding, because once you figure out how you can do that with one piece, then you can keep doing that with all your pieces. So
Yeah.
100%.
that's a really
Absolutely.
good,
Yeah.
good
To exhaust
thought.
it, basically. Exhaust that
Yeah.
one thing, that one idea.
Yeah, because
You
that's
know.
what a lot of major companies do anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like they see your work, they make an offer, right? They want to buy or license your work, and then they ultimately, it literally says in the contract that that license that you're giving them allows them to exploit the work.
Yeah.
So and you know, and that's a word that is like a little icky, right? Like we're a little uncomfortable with
Yeah.
like anyone exploiting anything of ours. So you know, I just encourage folks like get good at exploiting yourself,
Yeah.
right? For all the right reasons, right?
Yes, yes.
And
And under your
Yeah.
control.
yes,
Absolutely.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
part. That
Yeah.
part. Because when we think of like patterns, or whether you're, you know, you do a painting, right? So you have the painting, then you can make it into a print. Then if you want to, on the commercial side, you could have that same print on mugs, on, you know, on furniture, on notepads, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're doing it. You might as well do it yourself.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
do
and
you
you can
have?
always just license it out too, and just make the art and let them do
Exactly.
the work. You know, there's so many
Ex-
routes to go, you
Yeah,
know.
for sure,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
sure. Do you? I know you mentioned print on demand. Do you have a favorite print on demand or like a few that you use?
You know, we've been trying out a few. We've tried Printful. We've had some success with that. I was gonna try out Gelato. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. I think it's a little bit of a newer one.
Okay.
And there's actually one we really liked in the UK, because they do print on demand all over the, I'm forgetting the name of it right now. They do print on demand all over the whole garment. A lot of print on demand has
Yeah,
like
like
specific
all over
regions,
prints.
but they do all of our prints, which is really exciting to me, because I would like to create pieces that it's, you know, just, it's not like a square. Like I want it fully integrated into whatever the piece is.
Yes.
So that's exciting. And we've tried them, and they do, and of course I'm forgetting the name right now. I'll get it
Yeah,
back to you guys.
I'm
but-
forgetting the name as well. I think Micah shared that with
yeah,
me. and
he tried it. It's at the tip of my tongue. I'm not remembering it though.
yeah. No worries.
No problem. So before we wrap up, we have one more question, and then we're going to go into the fun stuff. We're going to go into our rapid fire questions. But what do you have? What do you have in the works right now? What's next for you?
Yeah, well, continuing these abstracts, which are really exciting to me. I also have a series I'm beginning, which is, again, a little more furthering of that mix of the realism and the abstract together. So having it much more abstracted, but little moments of those intensity or touch points, whether it's just the eyes or just the hands. So sort of working in my 2 separate kinds of art into one series. And then just really, you know, like I was talking earlier about just the business aspect of it. I've done that with several other business, but I don't feel like I've taken it as full with my art business. So that's like the next goal and next exciting thing is to really take that to its fullest. So yeah, doing the courses and learning and getting resourceful again and figuring it out. So I'm excited for all of that. Yeah.
We're excited for all of it.
Yes, no, definitely. And again, for those of you that are just joining us or have been watching, definitely please be sure to follow Opie Snow at the bottom ticker here. Also via her website. She does have her products. She does have a store as well, right? That
OpieSnow.com.
Yes, so be sure to check her out. Now we're going to transition to the fun stuff. All this is fun, actually. All of this, I just want to be clear. All of this is fun. But we just have we just have 4 questions, some rapid fire questions that we want to, ask you. So Stan and I are foodies, so we love food of all kinds and from all places. And with you being from, being bi-coastal, right? So both being on Oregon and in New York, we wanted to know, if you had to choose between Marionberry pie or a cannoli, what do you go with?
I got to do the Marionberry pie just because that's like childhood memories, picking berries, making the pie, the whole experience coming hot out of the oven. So I got to go with that one.
That sounds so good. So for those of you that don't know, Marionberry is actually that's native to Oregon. And so, so if you haven't heard of it, neither did we. Guess what?
Yeah.
So next time we go to Oregon.
Listen, I was thinking of, the brother who was former mayor of D.C. I was like, I didn't know.
Marionberry.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a pie. It was educational for me.
And so of course, go ahead.
Yeah, so for this next one, all right, we got, you got to choose between Vivian Westwood or Alexander McQueen.
Oh, they're both so good. I am going to go with Alexander McQueen because he was a huge influence on a lot of the fashion and art that we created during my Burning Man years. So, he's a huge inspiration.
Awesome.
Speaking of Burning Man.
So, for those of you that don't know, so Burning Man is a festival that's been going on for. It's been years. They've been around.
It's been a long time. I mean, I went. It's been maybe 30 years. I should know that, but I don't. But I haven't been for 7, and I went for 15 before that, and I was not one of the first people there. So it's been going for a long time.
Yeah. So for those that, if you don't know about Burning Man, definitely look it up. But if you had to choose, because you're an artist and you're sensitive about your shit, if you had to choose between Burning Man or Art Basel, where are you going? Where are you going?
Oh, that's a hard one because Burning Man was like my life for years. Yeah. And I haven't been to Basel. So I thought I'd go Burning Man, but I think I'm going to look to the future and go for Art Basel because I've been to Burning Man. I love it, but I've done that. So let's go to Art Basel.
Okay. All right. We respect that. No judgment over here.
All right. And for the last one, here we go. And I might butcher the last name, so Shell, help me out.
I'll help you with that one.
How about I say the first name?
Yes.
I know how to say that one.
There we go. If you had to choose between these two,
all right, Frida Kahlo
or Marina Abramovic.
See?
Yes.
I didn't even touch it.
that was good. Well, I did see Marina when she was at the MoMA doing the famous stare thing. That was really powerful. But I got to go with Frida just because she's been much more influential in my life and in my art. And so I'm going to go with Frida on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We respect. Yeah, and this is what I love about the rapid fire questions because it's like, we do a deep dive. We do our homework here on the artistry. And
I'm glad you didn't ask me about people I didn't know.
Right.
You did do your homework.
Right.
we try to do our homework here. But, we try to be very well prepared.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, we're very representative of what our guests would want and do.
And what your journey has been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And so on that note, my dear, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing with us, some insights to your career and what has been working for you and what has been challenging. And I think that's something that'll be very instrumental for our guests and for our viewers to see, because it's like, yes, I mean, art, like any industry, has its challenges, but the rewards, of doing it on your own terms is unmatched. So I thank you so much for spending the time away from your family for an hour with us, just so that we can share, sharing your knowledge with us. So I appreciate you and thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
for sure.
you. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to speak with you too, and thank you for doing this for people to learn and grow. And I'm excited to go listen to a bunch of other artistries.
Yes,
More podcasts.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And thank you to our audience. Again, if you like what you heard or saw, please be sure to like and subscribe for more. We are just gearing up for the end of season 4. We will be back with season 5 with even more art. So thank you all so much for being here with us.
All right.
Mr. Robinson?
Yeah. Opie, take care. We're going to go ahead and get ready to close out the show. Pay some bills on our way out.
All right.
It was great seeing you, sis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be well.
You too, hon.
All right, family. So we're going to get ready to wrap up. Thank you so much to our guest, Opie Snow. We'll clap it up for her. But yeah, real quick before you go, definitely wanted to let you know about some things going on. One thing in particular. So, outside of this amazing show, which we have a lot of fun doing, when I'm not doing this with my amazing partner in crime, I be doing the rapidy raps. You know what I'm saying? I do a little something, And so just wanted to let you all know that I have an album that is out right now called Adultish. You can check that out on all streaming platforms. Be sure to give it a spin wherever you stream your music or download your music if you still do that. And physical copies are also available exclusively on Bandcamp. But yeah. Wanted to give you heads up on that. Once again, shout out to Words, Beats, and Life. Be sure to check them out at their website, wblinc.org. Lots of great events happening in August that you should check out from Words, Beats, and Life. And if you are a young person listening to this, age 22 all the way down, I think the 3rd grade. So like, what's that about? That's 8 or 9. Yeah. So if you're in those age groups and you're listening to our show, first of all, you're definitely
clap it up to you.
Right. Clap it up for you. You're different, but definitely check out their program. They have an amazing academy that offers amazing programming. And yeah, man, once again, shout out to Words, Beats, and Life. But on that note, we're going to get out of here. Y'all take care. See you next time. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Artistry, where art meets industry. Season 4 of Artistry is powered by Words, Beats, and Life. Visit www.wblinc.org to learn more. This podcast is produced by Substantial Art and Music. For more information, please visit www.subartandmusic.com. You can also follow us on social media at Sub Art and Music. Peace.